Om Sahana Vavatu Sahano Bhunaktu Sahaviryam Karavavahai Tejasvinavadhitamastu ma vidvishavahai. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. Om Purnamadah Purnamidam Purnat Purnamudachyate Purnasya Purnamadaya Purnamevavashishyate. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. Shruti Smriti Purananam Alayam Karnalayam Namami Bhagavatpada Shankaram Loka Shankaram Shankaram Shankaracharyam Keshavam Vagarayanam Sudhamashyakrutau Vande Bhagavantau Punah Punah. Ishvaro Gururatmedi Murti Bheda Vibhagine Vyomavadvyapta Dehaya Dakshinamurtaye Namaha. Gukarastvandhakarascha Rukarastanivartakah Andhakara nirodhitvad Gururityabhidhiyate. Sadashiva samarambham Shankaracharya madhyamam Asmadacharya paryantam Vande Guru Paramparam. Let us chant the first two verses. Arjuna Uvacha Prakritim Purusham Chaiva Kshetram Kshetrajñameva cha Etad Veditumichhami Jnanam Jneyam cha Keshava. Shri Bhagavan Uvacha Idam Shariram Kaunteya Kshetramithyabhidhiyate Etadyo vettitam prahuhu Kshetrajña iti tadvidaha. So Lord Krishna in the beginning of this chapter is unfolding the meaning of that major statement, Tattvamasi, that thou art. Said, Purnaha, you are Purnaha, you are Brahma, you are limitless. This is what Upanishad says, and that's what Lord Krishna is unfolding in the first two verses. So this statement, you are Brahman, it has three words, you are and Brahman. That's the Vakya or a sentence. To understand the meaning of the sentence, we should understand the meaning of the words comprising the sentence. So the three words, you, that actually, that thou art. So we must know the meaning of thou, you, which means I, that, and art, which reveals the identity between that and I. So we should know the meaning of these three words. So meaning of the word you, or thou, or I. See, when he says you, that means then the listener says I. When the teacher says you are that, the response of the student is I am Brahman. So by you is meant the meaning of the word I. What's the meaning of the word I? As I said yesterday, that I, the meaning of the I, or I in reality, is something quite different from what I take myself to be. Because in my notion of I, or myself, there is this, what we call lumping together of the subject as well as object. Everyone knows that I means the subject. But in my notion of I, along with subject, the object also is mixed up. And therefore, Lord Krishna here defines or tells us. So what is the subject and what is the object? Idam Shariram Kaunteya. Idam means this, hey Kaunteya, this body is Kshetram, is the object of experience, Kshetra means the field of experience. And then who is I? Etadyo vetitam prahuhu. And one who is a knower of this body, one who is knower of the field of experience, is the subject. Understand, Arjuna, subject is a knower. The known is the object and knower is the subject. I mean, not a big thing, in fact, a very simple thing. Vedanta uses very simple methods to arrive at the truth. Not arrive at the truth, but then explain the vision. So, this is called Drug Drishya Viveka. Viveka meaning the distinction between seer and seen, the knower and known, the perceiver and perceived, the subject and object. So this body here, Arjuna, is not you, it is the object of your knowledge. Just drawing our attention to this fact. In fact, the word Shariram or the Kshetra includes everything. I would also like you to read the verses 5 and 6. Just turn the page. Let us read those verses also. What is the meaning of the word Kshetra as Lord Krishna is explained by Lord Krishna in subsequent verses? Mahabhutanyahankarah Buddhiravyaktamevacha Indriyani dashaikancha Panchachendriya gochara Ichha dvesha sukham dukkham Sanghatas chetana dhrutihi Etat kshetram samasena Savikara mudahrutam. These two verses, in fact, explain in detail the meaning of word Kshetra. What it is that is included in the word Idam. Lord Krishna even need not say Shariram. Idam, Kaunteya, Kshetram. Whatever can be indicated as Idam, as this, that is the object of knowledge. So, with reference to this, so there are two entities now in the as far as we are concerned, the subject and the object. So whatever is indicated by the pronoun this, meaning that whatever can become the object of my knowledge, is the known, is the Kshetra. And what is it Lord Krishna tells us here, the scope of the entire Kshetra? Mahabhutani, the five great elements, the space, air, fire, water and earth. Ahankaraha, the sense of ego. Buddhihi, the intellect. Avyaktam, then manifest. So, this first line describes the 8 aspects. So the method here, the terminology rather used here is those of this is the Sankhya terminology. So Sankhya, that's the school of thought, which explains creation in its own way. So they say that before creation, what the matter or the creation before its manifestation obtains in the unmanifest state. Nothing new is created. What is there in unmanifest state alone becomes manifest. So Sankhya, the Vedantins, do not accept any such thing as creation. All it is the unmanifest becoming manifest, that's called creation, and the manifest again going to the state of unmanifest is called dissolution. So the cause manifesting as effect is called creation, and the effect again merging back into the state of cause, the effect becoming unmanifest is called dissolution or destruction. There is no destruction, dissolution. Again from unmanifest to manifest, manifest to unmanifest, and this is how the creation goes on in these cycles. Just as in our everyday experience also, the deep sleep state in which we are is the unmanifest state. And from there we wake up, that's a manifest state. Again go back to deep sleep state, then manifest. Again wake up, the manifest. So thus everything is cyclic. And so also the creation, sustenance, dissolution is a cyclic process. So avyaktam is unmanifest, the state obtaining before the creation. And then the first manifestation is called buddhi, the total intellect, the cosmic intellect is called buddhi. Ahankaraha, the cosmic ego, the cosmic sense of individuality, meaning that the identification of God with the whole cosmos. In the creation, The unmanifest is what we call the Maya or the Prakriti or the primordial cause, and its first manifestation is just the cosmic intelligence called Buddhi. And in that intelligence arises the first thought of I arising from identification with the whole cosmos. You can say that God identifying with the whole cosmos gives us the idea of I, the sense of individuality, cosmic individuality. And from that arises all the five elements: space, air, fire, water and earth. Something like this we also go through every day. See, when from the sleep, when we wake up in the morning, although we are not quite aware of all the stages which are taking place, but if we do pay attention, then we would find that as we wake up from the deep sleep, in the beginning, the very first moment, there is just awareness. At that time, all there is awareness. And then second thing is, I become aware of myself as an individual. Third thing, I become aware of the place. Hey, wait a minute, I'm in Gurukulam. Time, 6 o'clock, And thus, the space and time I become aware of. And then, the Pancha Mahabhuta, my body I become aware of, which is made up of 5 elements. So we can see how our awareness expands. From the unmanifest to waking state, which is the total awareness of everything, you can say that the awareness of things goes through the stages. Unmanifest when there is no awareness of anything. From that, awareness in general. From that, a sense of I being there. Then further, the awareness of time and space, and then the water and fire and earth, everything, water for the shower and fire for the tea and so on and so forth. That's how the awareness of the world takes place. You can say awareness expands. That is creation, that's all. This is creation. From the unmanifest to the manifest. So Sankhya use this model to explain the creation of the whole cosmos. Anyway, this includes everything. The first line includes everything. Well, the Indriya, the second line says then, from the 5 elements, the 10 sense organs. 5 organs of perception, 5 organs of action. Ekam cha, and the mind. Pancha cha indriya gocharaha, and the 5 objects of perception. See, the general intelligence, Sankhyas call it Mahat Tattva, or the cosmic intelligence. Ahankara, the cosmic ego. From that, the 5 subtle elements. From that, the organs of perception and organs of action, and the mind. And then subsequently, the objects of the world, the 5-fold objects of the world. This is the kshetra. And further, Ichcha, Dvesha, Sukham, Dukkham, Sanghata, Chetana, Dhruti. Ichcha, the desire, or the likes. Dvesha, the dislike or aversion. Sukham, the pleasure. Dukkham, pain. Sanghata, this body-mind complex. Chetana, the sentiency that we experience. Dhruti means a fortitude. Meaning all different states of mind. All of this is kshetram. As you understand that, all this is kshetra. So in the first verse what I said is, Idam shariram kaunteya kshetram ida vidyate. Hey kaunteya, this sharira is kshetra. What is meaning of the word sharira in that first verse is explained in the verses 5 and 6, where sharira need not be understood merely as an individual body, the cosmic sharira. Means everything other than myself is kshetra. And the scope of kshetra or the field of experience is described in the verses 5 and 6, including the mind. The mind also is not the self. So Ichcha, Dvesha, Sukham, Dukkham, the desire, the anger, and pleasure and the pain and all of these which are different modifications of mind, understand Arjuna, there is also not the self. They are also object. So that's all. Then going back to the first verse, Idam shariram kaunteya kshetram iti abhidhyate. Here Arjuna, all this is kshetra. Etadyo veti, and the one who knows the kshetra is called kshetrajna. One who knows the object is called the subject. Very simple thing really, is it not so? The thing is, knower also is illuminated. What is now the nature of knower? Here Lord Krishna says, what's the nature of knower? Swamiji, knower is the one who knows the object of knowledge. But then understand that knower also is something that stands in relations with what is known. So with reference to what is known, with reference to what is objectified, this I is called the knower of the subject. But with reference to himself, what is he? What is this I without the reference to the object? What is it? As long as the known is there, so long the knower is there. When the known is also not there, let us say, suppose whatever it is the object, it goes away from my consciousness. The reason why this is being told is, this body, which is in fact an object of my perception, is unfortunately taken to be the self. The mind, which is also the organ of the object of perception with its various thoughts, is taken to be the self. The sense organs also are presently taken to be self. The buddhi also is taken to be self. The ahankara ego also, this is taken to be the self. So Lord Krishna elaborated. The objects of the world, Sanghata, this complex, the organic complex, the mind with all its various thoughts, the sense organs, all of these are kshetra. All of these are the object of knowledge. And you are not that. You are the knower of them. As Shankaracharya would say, Mano buddhya hankara chittani naham nacha shrotra jikhve nacha ghrana netre nacha vyoma bhumihi na tejo na vayu. I am not all of this. So this is what Lord Krishna wants Arjuna to say. Arjuna recognizes the body is not you because you are the knower of the body. The sense organs are not you because you are knower of the sense organs. The mind is not you because you are knower of the mind. Am I not the knower of mind? The happiness happens in my mind, I know. The pleasure I know. The pain I know. The desire I know. The likes I know. The dislikes I know. I know all of them. And therefore, they are the object of my knowledge. I am different from them. The intellect also. I know my intellect, which is also nothing but the other group of thoughts. All my different ideas and thoughts and concepts and conclusions I know. Include memory also and ahankara, ego also I know. And therefore, I am not that. Then who am I? If I am not all these, I am not the mind, not the intellect, not the chittam, not the ahankara, not the organs of perception, not the organs of action, not the body. Name dvesha rago, name lobha moho, the dvesha, raga, lobha, moha, mada, matsarya. Meaning the desire, the desire, anger, delusion, greed, none of these I am. Na punyam, na papam, na saukhyam, na dukkham. The punya, papa, virtue, vice, sukham, dukkham, pleasure, pain, none of these I am. Na dharma, artha, kama, moksha, that also I am not. Even the human ends, dharma, artha, kama, moksha, they also I am not. Na vedaha, na yajnaha, the veda, yajna, none of them I am. So Shankaracharya describes his own with the kshetra, as Lord Krishna describes, I am not, I am not, I am not, because I recognize them as the object of my awareness. Then who am I? I am the awarer. And what's the nature of awarer? The awarer also is a role, the subject also is a role, the knower also is a role with reference to what is known. But when I distinguish myself from the known, then I am not the knower also. Then who am I? Just the knowledge. So what's the nature of the awarer? Awareness. What's the nature of the conscious being? Consciousness. What's the nature of the knower? Knowledge. So this knower also drops. As long as the known is there, so long I stand in relation to known as the knower. But when the known also is not in my consciousness, then the knower also does not remain, and what remains is just the basis of knower and known, which is what? Just the consciousness, the awareness, what they call the illuminator, one that illumines the whole kshetra. Who am I? I am the illuminator, I am the consciousness that illumines the entire kshetra. Beginning from this body to the whole universe is illumined by me. I am the illuminator, the consciousness, as Shankaracharya says, Chidananda Rupaha Shivoham Shivam Chit, the consciousness. Ananda, I am the wholeness. There is nothing to limit me. How many are like me? I am the only one like me. There is no one like me. Everything in the creation falls in the category of object. I am the only subject. What else do I want? Everybody wants always to be unique. Everybody wants to be distinguished from everything else. I am already unique. There is nothing like me. In the sense of what? In the sense that I am the only subject. Everything else is object. You are all object. I am the only subject. Swamiji, that's what you say. But I will say, I am the subject, you are the object. What are you going to do? Everybody will say, I am the subject, you are the object. That's all right. But when I say you are the object, which you? Only you that can be objectified. When I say you, I mean your body. Perhaps your sense organs. Perhaps your mind. Perhaps your ego. So whatever can be objectified alone can become the object. So therefore, in you also, which aspect of you is the object for me? Your personality, the Prakriti. But the Purusha that you are, the self that you are, cannot be objectified by me, cannot be objectified by the senses, and therefore, in that sense, I am the only subject, everything else is the object. You can also say you are the only subject and everything else is the object. But Swamiji, then how many subjects are there? As many living beings are there, as many Atmas are there. But then we said, what's the nature of the subject? Just the consciousness. Swami, what is the weight of the consciousness? The weight belongs to the body. What is the shape of the consciousness? Shape also belongs to the body. Shape also is object of my consciousness. Weight also is object of my consciousness. Every kind of a characteristic or attribute is in fact object of awareness. And therefore awareness is devoid of all the attributes of height, weight, any kind of qualification. I am unqualified awareness. The unqualified awareness, where is the limit? Swami, where does the consciousness end? Does it end with the boundaries of my body? It doesn't, because even the space also is in the consciousness. And therefore, what is the scope of the consciousness? Everything is included in the consciousness. Every scope is in consciousness also. And therefore, consciousness is that which cannot be confined to any scope, any boundary. Automatically conscious. What? Boundless consciousness I am. Unqualified consciousness I am. And you are also boundless consciousness and unqualified consciousness. And she is also boundless consciousness, unqualified consciousness. So then, how many boundless, unqualified consciousnesses are there? What is the distinguished boundless consciousness that I am? What is it distinguishes from boundless consciousness that you are? Is there a dividing line there? When so many bulbs are shining here, where is the scope of bulb light of one bulb as compared to the other bulb? Is there something that says, no, this is my territory and that is their territory? Does the light have any territory? Does the space have any territory? Does the consciousness have a territory? The territory comes when the consciousness is equated to ahankara. But there is no territory in the sense that the subject that you are is the subject that I am. All of us are sharing one subject. All of us sharing one Atma. Imagine this hall having 1,000 mirrors, and I stand in the middle of the hall, and how many Swamis are? 1,000 Swamis are there. As Swamiji would say, count one and everything gets counted. Well, Swamiji gave the example of one gold, all ornaments, 1,000,000 ornaments. I don't know if anybody has calculated 1,000,000. I'll calculate myself and see whether you can make 1,000,000 out of 1 ton or not. But anyway, whatever number is there. But Swamiji said that some student is... In fact, I started calculating there, when I heard this. 1 ton gold and 1,000,000 ornament. I said, wait a minute. I started calculating. In the meantime, Swamiji said that my students have calculated. So I stopped my calculation, He said they have calculated that 1,000,000 ornaments can be there from 1 ton of gold. So then I did not take trouble. But you can say there are 1,000,000 mirrors, let us say, and then I stand in the middle of the hall and there are 1,000,000 Swamis. So when I say I, each one of them says I. But each one of them is sharing one I, isn't it? Who is the I of each reflection? The Swami is the I of each reflection. And therefore, each one is sharing one I. Imagine all these mirrors here. What is this Prakriti? Purusha and Prakriti. Prakriti means our personality, the matter, the body, mind, intellect, complex of Prakriti. Imagine that to be a mirror, reflecting Purusha, the consciousness, and then there are countless mirrors, reflecting how many persons, how many Purushas? There are countless mirrors reflecting one Swami. Similarly also, all these countless mirrors are there, which we call Prakriti or personality, reflecting how many Purushas? One Purusha. Idam shariram yat etadyo vettitam prahu kshetrajnah id tadvidah. The knowers of Kshetra and Kshetrajna say that the one who knows the Kshetra is Kshetrajna, is the subject, is the self. What's the nature of that self? The second verse. Kshetrajnam chapi mam vidhi sarva kshetreshu bharata kshetra kshetrajnayor jnanam yatta jnanam matam mama. And so Lord Krishna says, Kshetrajnam chapi mam vidhi. And he know him, Bharata, may you know that I am the Kshetrajna. Lord Krishna says, I am the self. That subject. What's the nature of the subject? What's the nature of the self? Lord Krishna says, I am the self. Who is I? Vasudeva, Narayana. The Lord is the self of all. So he stands in the middle with all these Jivatmas, all the personalities of various mirrors, and therefore, who is reflected in every Prakriti? Who is reflected in every personality? None other than Brahman, none other than Narayana, none other than God, whichever word you like to use. And so Tulsidasi would say, Siya Ramaya Sabajagajani, Karahu Pranama Jori Jugapani. He says the whole universe is nothing but the Rama and Sita, in his wise. And Surdasi may say, whole Jagat is nothing but Radha and Krishna, whatever. But the thing is that Purusha and Prakriti, Purusha reflected in the Prakriti. Whole universe is nothing but one self being reflected in all the personalities. Here you understand that I am the person, I am the Purusha in all the Prakritis, all the Kshetras, all the personalities. Kshetra kshetrajnayoho yajnanam tajnanam iti mahamatam. And Lord Krishna says that this is all you need to know. The knowledge of Kshetra and Kshetrajna, that knowledge is the real knowledge. Meaning that when you know the Kshetrajna, you know the self in its true sense, then that's the real knowledge. That's the purpose of all the knowledge, isn't it? Every scientist is in search of ultimately the fundamental truth, and each one is inquiring into that truth in its own way. But then, when will the quest for the pursuit of truth will be completed? When ultimately they come to know that the truth that they are searching for, the physicist or whoever is, when they come to know the truth is one, and that is Narayana, or that is Brahman, that is limitless, that is consciousness, that is the self of all, then that is a jnanam. Then the pursuit of knowledge really has found its culmination. So this is how Lord Krishna, of course Krishna, we know what it means. Lord Krishna, I am the self. So the scholars explain the word Krishna, as I have said earlier also, the word Krishna being made up of these two elements, Krish and Na. Krushi bhuvachaka shabda hai, nascha nirvati vachaka hai. Krish means to be, existence, and Na means the Ananda. So Krish means Sat, and Na means Ananda. Krishna means Sadananda. Tayoraikyam Sadananda. Krishna iti abhidhiyate. And so Krishna means Sadananda, Satchidananda. Lord Krishna says, I, the Satchidananda, is the self of all. And we will have occasion to discuss this subsequently in this chapter also. So we will not exhaust ourselves at this point. But important thing is this. This is the vision that Vedanta gives, and that Lord or Brahman or Satchidananda is the self of all. Not only self of all human beings, self of all living beings. Even self of dogs and cats. As Lord Krishna says in the 5th chapter, Vidya Vinaya Sampanne Brahmane Gavihastine Shuni Cheva Shvapakecha Panditaha Samadarshinaha. Whether he is a Brahmana, a very pure person, or whether there is a cow, or an elephant, or a dog eater. See, Lord Krishna must be a great reformer, because when you think of a dog, in India, it's looked upon as an impure animal, and they don't allow a dog into any kind of rituals and things that are going on, then what to talk about dog eater? He's an untouchable. I'm not promoting untouchable. I'm saying this is the kind of, this is the kind of evaluation that people have. Therefore Lord Krishna says, beginning from the purest person, the pious person, to the one who is looked upon as impure, in all of them, Panditaha Samadarshinaha, the wise people see the same self, the same truth. But Swamiji, doesn't Lord become contaminated when he is a contaminated personality like that of a dog eater? Does he not become impure? He says, no. Nirdosham hi samam brahma tasmad brahmanite sthitaha. This Brahman is nirdosham. The self is nirdosha, nirguna, meaning that he cannot be affected by any virtue or vice. All virtues and vice, all of that depends upon they are all centered upon the personality, and the self that in fact enlivens his personality remains unaffected by that, just as the eye, the image, because is unaffected by any distortions in the mirror. The mirror can have various distortions, and my reflection may appear to be distorted. Even though the reflection is distorted, I, the image, remains undistorted ever. And so also, there may be distortions in personalities. What we call virtue and vice and sattva, rajas, tamas, all of this is the personality. But the self, manifesting through all personalities, is ever pure, is ever unaffected, ever unattached. Therefore, what it means that you and I and everyone is ever pure, ever unaffected, ever unattached, ever perfect, ever complete, ever good. This is the truth. This is, I think, that cannot, this is the most important contribution that Vedanta can have, is to reveal the fact that there is one truth, and that truth is simple and beautiful. Scientists say, the scientists make this statement. In fact, as they are probing into the reality of matter, it seems to become more and more complicated. And then why are you continuing your search? More you probe into that, more complicated it's going to become. And still they continue to search. Why? Because there is a conviction that the truth must be simple and beautiful. That's why they are searching for. So that kind of an insight everybody has, even though that in all these complications, what is the truth? What's the basis? Is simple and beautiful. And thus Lord Krishna says, each one of us is simple and beautiful. If any ugliness is there, if any complexities are there, if any distortions are there, if any angularities are there, all of them belong to what we call the prakriti, belong to the matter, belong to personality, and never to the person, never to the self. And that should become the value. To know these truths, it is necessary that we should live a life also which is based on this truth. Right now our life is based on untruth. Right now our life and the values are based on taking this duality or division as real. Right now my values are based on taking myself as a limited entity. I look upon myself as inadequate, incomplete, sometimes impure. Some people tell, Swami, I am an impure person. I am a polluted person. So I take myself as impure, inadequate, and that is how I am functioning right now. So a life lived on the basis of taking oneself as incomplete or impure or whatever, it can never lead to purity or completeness. And therefore Lord Krishna prescribes subsequently several values in this chapter, which are based on this truth. So even when we live a life of these values, even though we may not know the truth, but the very way of living the life will lead us to the truth. So therefore, as we say, Vedanta provides us the two things, the view of life and the way of life. What's the view of life? There is one Narayana, one Lord, one Brahman, one truth, Satchit Ananda. That is the truth or the basis of everything, whatever that is. As Swami will explain, Ishavasya Upanishad says, Ishavasya Saram, Yat Kincha Jagatyanam Jagat. In this universe, Yat Kincha, whatever that is, however ugly it is, however sinful it is, however abominable it is, outwardly, understand that the truth of that the essence of that or the core of that is nothing but same Ishvara or Brahman, same goodness or the beauty or the wholeness is the truth of everything, doesn't matter what it looks outwardly. And that includes even tables and chairs. It not only includes in scope the living beings, even what we call animate, inanimate, whatever there is. In fact, the truth of that is this. If this is so, then what, Swamiji? That means I am only interacting with God? Yes. That means all manifestation of God. So I am talking to God and I am interacting with God. Whatever I am doing, I am all doing with God? Yes. How will you then do? Well, then try to do that, you see. Although right now it is not a reality for me that all this is God or that I am God. And we have to understand the meaning of the word God here, of course. Because God means omniscient, omnipotent, omnipresent. Swamiji, when I get this knowledge, does it mean that I become omnipotent, omnipresent, omniscient? That's not necessary. You will become if it is necessary. But it is not necessary to be omniscient, not necessary to be all-knowing, all-powerful, all-pervasive. It is enough to be what I am, a whole and complete being. And therefore, just as I am here a combination of the Prakriti and Purusha, the person and the personality, that I have a personality and there is a person manifesting through this personality, so also even God also is the union of the person and the personality. God also is a person having a personality. So what is the characteristics of my personality? Limited in every way. Limited in knowledge, limited in power, limited in capacity, limited in pervasiveness, limited in every way. And what is God's personality? Infinite in every way. Infinite knowledge, infinite power, infinite pervasiveness. And therefore, in fact, the two are totally contradictory. God and I are totally contradictory. From what standpoint? From the standpoint of the Prakriti, the personality. But the person that God is the person that I am. This is what is meant by revealing the identity. The identity is not at the level of personality. That the wise man, although we call him God, we call him Bhagavan. Out of reverence, we call all Mahatmas Bhagavan. And they do have some elements of Bhagavan, but still they are not Bhagavan in primary sense. Even wise people also are not God in primary sense. They are not omniscient or omnipotent. But they have the same purity that God has. The same love that God is. Same goodness that God is. Same beauty that God is. And that's what Lord Krishna stands for, in fact. Is nothing but the personification of beauty, or personification of freedom, personification of joy. If you want to draw a picture of beauty, what will you do? Perhaps you will draw Lord Krishna. If you want to draw beauty, or love, or joy, these are all formless, understand? Swami, you are all worshipping forms, but then this formless alone is given a form for me to visualize something. In fact, when you draw Lord Krishna, you are drawing your own self. It is not that he is different. The same self is being only represented as what we call Lord Krishna or Lord Dakshinamurti or any form that for that matter. It is nothing but my own self. Swami, you are worshipping yourself? What is this Vedanta? How can there be bhakti? How can there be worship? Yes, worshipping myself is the highest form of worship. No doubt about that. Swaswarupanusandhana. But until that happens, until that Dakshinamurti appears to me, that is a seeming duality, and therefore I worship Dakshinamurti as God as long as I look at myself as a jiva. When I recognize that I am the person and he is the person, all the bhakti has culminated into that knowledge. So this is the basis of the values that are prescribed to us. And from the verse 7 to the verse 11, Lord Krishna prescribed the very famous 20 values, which we all done. All of these are discussed in great detail in the earlier session, but very briefly we will just go through them. In fact, there is only one value. Understand, there are not 20 values, or there are 200 values. There is one value. And what's that value? The truth is the value. What is the truth? That which equally informs everything. That which does not discriminate at all. The same truth is there in a very pious person also. The same truth is there in an animal also. The same truth is there in an impure person also. The same truth is there in animate as well as inanimate. Everywhere the same truth is. And that is the value. So being born as a human being, what is value? Value is the truth or myself. That happens to my own self. And therefore, who is the most valuable one to me? Myself. So primary value is what you call God or truth or the self. That's the primary value. But it's not enough that I am Brahman. I must know that I am Brahman. It's not enough that I have a treasure. I should possess the treasure. As Chandogya Upanishad gives an example that a big treasure is in fact buried in a farm. And for generations, these farmers are walking up and down on that, not knowing what is beneath. So having the treasure or being, that's not enough, but we must become the owners of the treasure. And that distance we have to cover. Then this farmer is told, hey, do you know, fellow, you are such a poor man, but do you know that actually you are a very rich person? So who says that? I am telling you. How? Then some old records he found out that there is a big treasure buried in your farm. Now he is paroksha jnana. He is what we call indirect knowledge, intellectual knowledge that I am a rich man. He is yet to become a rich man. What's the first knowledge? Hey, I am a rich person. That's very relieving, understand? This also is a great relief. At least all the time looking upon himself as a poor man, a pauper, a helpless creature, he doesn't anymore look upon himself that way. He no more feels, that he is poor, he is helpless. But still, he has to become rich. By digging. This is how Vivek Sudhamani explains. Aptoktihi khananam. Aptoktihi, the first step is, some knowledgeable person told me that there is a treasure. Then khananam, then comes the digging and removing the stones and whatever there may be as obstacles and retrieving the treasure. That is when you become rich. So, number one, he is rich already but he doesn't know. Number two, he comes to know that he is rich. And number three, that he has to become rich. Similarly also, presently I do not know that I am Brahman. Then the teacher unfolds his truth before me that, hey, you are Brahman. So yeah, I can see that fact. And third stage is what? That I must own up this truth that I am Brahman. And that is a process also, understand. And sometimes that process is not recognized by Vedantic students, that process also one has to undergo, and that one has to own up this. And that is where a certain way of life comes. That is where a certain value, these values come. That is where Karma Yoga comes. That is where worship comes. That is where the values come. Is that my life also is modeled around the truth or around the goal that I have. What's the goal now? Moksha. But what is moksha? Just owning up what I am. How to own up? By living a way of life and then also by knowing. That's the reason why Bhagavad Gītā prescribes here or describes rather or mentions two stages. One is life of becoming and then the life of knowing. Understand, some becoming is involved here. Not becoming rich and stuff like that, but some becoming is involved. What is becoming? Transforming my mind. So some transformation is required. And when the mind is transformed, then it becomes capable of knowing. What do you mean Swami transformation? Vedantins call it Antahkarana Shuddhi, the purification of mind. Why do you require a mind to be purified? Because that mind alone can see this fact that this Brahman I am. Is it not so? Only when the mind is happy, that then we are told that you are happiness, it makes sense to me. Otherwise I am a sad person right now and somebody keeps on, you are Ananda, you are happiness, you are whole, you are... It makes me more miserable sometimes. Oh, I am supposed to be Ananda but I am miserable. That makes me more miserable sometimes. And so this thing doesn't touch sometimes. When will it touch? When Ananda is a matter of my experience. And then when I am told that you are Ananda, then it immediately goes home. And therefore, it is necessary that we must discover that relative happiness, that relative purity, that relative quietude, in order to understand that absolute happiness or tranquility I am. And that is how that becoming comes. What's the becoming? The transformation. Transforming what? Transforming my mind. Well, either you call it transforming mind or you call it removing the impurities, because mind is pure by nature. Another nice thing is that the mind is tranquil and pure by nature. And what we call the impurities are only incidental, and therefore they can be removed. If it were inherent, they could not be removed. The impurities are incidental. How did they come about? Because of my false perception. My false perception of myself, and the false perception of the world has brought about all these impurities, so-called impurities. And by the true perception, they will go. And the perception becomes true when I live a life also based on that perception. And therefore, based on this perception, what kind of life should I live is what is being said here by Lord Krishna in the verses from 7 to 11. Let us read those verses. Amanitvamadambhitvam ahimsa kshantirarjavam acharyopasanam shaucham स्थैर्यमात्म विनिग्रह इंद्रियार्थेषु वैराग्यम् अनहंकार एव च जन्म मृत्युजरा व्याधि दुःखदोषानुदर्शनम् असक्तिरनभिष्वङ्गः पुत्रदारगृहादिषु नित्यञ्च समचित्तत्वम् इष्टानिष्टोपपत्तिषु मयि चानन्ययोगेन भक्तिरव्यभिचारिणी विविक्तदेशसेवित्वम् अरतिर्जनसंसदे अध्यात्मज्ञाननित्यत्वम् तत्त्वज्ञानार्थदर्शनम् एतज्ज्ञानमिति प्रोक्तम् अज्ञानं यदतोऽन्यथा. See the last line of the verse 11. Etad jnanamiti proktam ajnanam yad atah anyatha. This, etad means this group of virtues. So Lord Krishna prescribes here a group of 20 virtues. Referring to them, Lord Krishna says, etad jnanam iti proktam. Hey Arjuna, this group of 20 virtues, and you can add others also. I mean, like 16th chapter talks about some 33, and even 12th chapter at the end also, that talked about 33, 16th chapter talks about 23. So many virtues can be added. It's only one virtue, but then can be described in very different ways. So here Lord Krishna says, this group of 20 virtues, either jnanam iti proktam, it is called jnanam, it is called knowledge. Yat atahanyam ajnanam. And that which yat adahanyatha, so that which is opposite of that is called ajnana. So we should decide now whether in Ishavasya Upanishad also these words jnanam and ajnanam come. Vidya and avidya. Vidya and avidya. Here also jnanam and ajnanam. A life of knowledge and life of ignorance. As Kathopanishad says, both these choices are there. Lord Swami talked about the choices. The choiceless choice, but that choiceless choice is only when there is a discerning. But as long as person has not discerned what it is that he is seeking in his life, so long it is possible that one may make wrong choices. So both these choices present themselves before me. One choice is called jnanam, other choice is called ajnanam. In every situation. As Kathopanishad is Shreyaha and Preyaha. So Kathopanishad uses these two words, Shreyas and Preyas, the path of good and the path of pleasant. The path of good and the path of pleasant. Both these choices are available to us in every situation. If I choose the path of pleasant, more often than not, I sacrifice or compromise the path of good. What is path of pleasant? That which yields immediate gratification. What is path of good? That which yields lasting gratification. So in every condition or situation, there is always a temptation for immediate gratification. Even though the doctors declare that I am suffering from diabetes, I am already too sweet, and therefore, Swamiji, it's better that you avoid sweets. And I always declare I don't eat sweets. And most people take it seriously and therefore they don't offer me. There are few people who know how to let's say, manage the Swami. And so they bring this ice cream, Swami, you don't eat every day, this is one day, someday. And this is a very special thing. And no eggs in that. This is all special preparation. And there is nobody, but I tell them, no, people will look at, no, we won't tell this to anybody. You come to our place, because otherwise the word spreads. What did Swami eat at your place? We eat ice cream at the end, So next time, when next place you go, there is ice cream also. And next place you go, so I said, no, I don't want, so I won't tell this to anybody's family, And this, all temptations are presented before me. And I oblige that person. Actually, really I am obliging myself. But then outwardly, I oblige. I act as though I am just eating this ice cream for your sake. That's all. But within myself, there is definitely a craving, a temptation for that. And therefore, when I eat that ice cream, it is a path of pleasure. It gives me immediate gratification, but a long-term pain. Immediate gain, a long-term pain. Otherwise, what is required of me? Self-control. So ice cream? No. It's tempting, my mouth is watering, everything is there, and still I control myself. I very politely tell my hostess lady, no, thank you very much. Sometimes they feel bad, because if you sometimes do not respect their sentiments, and they feel, they get hurt also. Even risking that, thank you very much. Thus, there is some pain involved on my part, of course, because I have to let go that immediate gratification that comes. My palate is demanding, my stomach also is demanding, my mind wants it, and I control. That's called damaha, self-control. It does involve pain. A short-term pain, but long-term gain. So these choices are always there before us. Short-term gain, long-term pain. Short-term pain, long-term gain. Path of preyaha, path of shreyaha. Preyas, the path of pleasant, immediate gratification. Shreyas, the path of good, the lasting good. But that comes later. Yattadagre vishamiva pariname amrutopamam tatsukham satvikam proktam atmabuddhi prasadayam. Lord Krishna says, Yattadagre vishamiva, that which in the beginning feels like visham, like poison, like painful. Pariname amrutopamam, but that which results into, ultimately, which results into nectar. That which is like visham, like poison, meaning bitter or painful in the beginning, but which ultimately results into nectar, or what we call the lasting happiness. That is called sattvic sukha. Sukha or happiness arising from sattva. Vishendriya sanyogat yattadagre amrutopamam pariname vishamiva tatsukham rajasamsrutam. Lord Krishna says that the pleasure arising from the contact of sense organs with sense objects, that pleasure, it feels like amrutam, like very sweet in the beginning, but then turns out to be very bitter at the end. So this choice can be made provided I have discerned the basic thing, that the basic value is what? The basic value is myself. Moksha is the basic value. Moksha means knowledge of myself. Knowledge of myself is possible provided my mind is my mind is prepared to gain that knowledge. That preparation means the Antahkarana Shuddhi, purification of mind. The purification of mind is possible when I deliberately initiate the process called self-purification, emotional maturity. When I deliberately make the right choices. When I am willing to suffer the pain in the short term. When I am willing to make that choice, then alone this can happen. If this is clear to me, then I will be able to make the right choice and follow the value. So the value of value must be first recognized. That these values are all valuable because all of them ultimately mean my own self, and I am the most valuable to me. Swamiji, you are selfish, but everybody is selfish. Who is the most valuable one to me? I. So you don't care for us? I care for us to the extent that you help me care for myself. That's all. You are selfish, I am selfish. I care for you, provided you help me care for myself. If you are favorable to me, agreeable to me, then I like you. But basically because it is I who likes myself. This is a fundamental truth. Recognizing this, when this is recognized, then we deliberately live a way of life which is conducive to reaching towards moksha. And that's what Lord Krishna means here by prescribing these values. Eta jnanam iti proktam ajnanam yatata anyatha. This is here Arjuna called knowledge because it is means of knowledge. This group of 20 virtues described here is a means of knowledge. When they are there, knowledge will take place. When they are not there, knowledge will not take place. That's called Anvaya Vyatireka. When these virtues are there, knowledge will take place. When the virtues are not there, knowledge will not take place. So, then the Shravanam, Mananam, all of these do not bless us as much as they should. Listening to scriptures, where sometimes listening to it for years together also, doesn't bless as much as it should. Because this work also needs to be done in terms of, as I said, the inner purification. Therefore, the inner purification also Lord Krishna calls jnanam, knowledge, and the impurity are called ajnanam. So with that, this is the value of every value is valuable because I am the most valuable, and every value becomes a means of owning up myself, of first recognizing myself and then owning up myself. Okay, from the next session we'll briefly look at this and then proceed with our text. Om Purnamada Purnamidam Purnat Purnamudachyate Purnasya Purnamadaya Purnameva Vashishyate. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. Shankaram Shankaracharyam Keshavam Vadarayanam Sutrabhashakritau Vande Bhagavantau Punah Punah. Ishvaro Gururatmeti Murti Bheda Vibhagine Vyomavad Vyapta Dehaya Dakshinamurtaye Namaha. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. Hari Om. Shri Gurubhyo Namaha. Hari Om.